In the ever-evolving landscape of economic forecasting, we've witnessed countless predictions that seemed plausible at the time but ultimately proved to be wildly off the mark. Today, we're diving deep into 5 of the most cringe-worthy economic predictions that not only miss the target, but also serve as cautionary tales about the perils of forecasting in our rapidly changing world. From dire warnings about peak oil to doomsday scenarios for emerging digital currencies, these predictions have become legendary examples of how even the most respected experts can sometimes get it spectacularly wrong. As we explore these stories, we'll unpack what went awry and why these forecasts failed to materialize, offering insights into the complex interplay of technology, policy, and market forces that shape our economic reality. Let's start with one of the most enduring and influential predictions in economic history: the concept of peak oil and the end of cheap energy. For decades, experts warned that we were rapidly approaching a point where global oil production would reach its maximum and then begin an irreversible decline. The narrative was compelling and seemed backed by solid data. As easily accessible oil reserves dwindled, the cost of extraction would skyrocket, leading to astronomical prices at the pump and widespread economic disruption. I vividly remember reading articles that painted a bleak picture of a future where businesses would crumble under the weight of energy costs and everyday consumers would struggle to afford basic transportation. The logic seemed sound. After all, oil is a finite resource, and our consumption was only increasing. However, this prediction failed to account for the incredible pace of technological innovation in the energy sector. The development and refinement of hydraulic fracturing, fracking, and horizontal drilling techniques completely revolutionized the oil industry. These technologies unlocked vast new reserves of oil and natural gas that had previously been considered economically unviable. Suddenly, areas like the Permian Basin in Texas and North Dakota's Bakken Formation became major players in global oil production. The United States, long dependent on foreign oil, transformed into a net exporter of petroleum products. This surge in supply not only prevented the predicted price spike, but also led to periods of remarkably low oil prices, defying the peak oil narrative entirely. The failure of the peak oil prediction serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of linear thinking in a world of exponential technological progress. It underscores how innovation can completely reshape market dynamics, often in ways that are difficult to foresee. While concerns about the long-term sustainability of fossil fuel consumption remain valid, particularly in the context of climate change, the immediate economic catastrophe predicted by peak oil theorists never materialized. Instead, we've seen a much more nuanced and dynamic energy market, where supply, demand, and technological advancements continue to interact in complex and often surprising ways. Moving on to our second cringe-worthy prediction, we encounter the bold claims that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were nothing more than a passing fad, destined to collapse and disappear. When Bitcoin first emerged in 2009, it was dismissed by many prominent economists and financial institutions as a speculative bubble with no intrinsic value. Critics argued that without the backing of a central bank or government, digital currencies couldn't possibly serve as a reliable store of value or medium of exchange. I recall hearing experts confidently assert that Bitcoin was merely a toy for tech enthusiasts and that it would never gain mainstream acceptance. Fast forward to 2025, and the landscape of digital currencies looks radically different. Not only has Bitcoin survived multiple market cycles and price crashes, but it has also gained significant institutional acceptance. Major banks, hedge funds, and even publicly traded companies have begun to invest in digital assets, treating Bitcoin as a form of digital gold and a hedge against inflation. The technology underpinning cryptocurrencies, blockchain, has spurred a wave of innovation in decentralized finance, smart contracts, and beyond. Countries like El Salvador have even adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, while others are exploring the development of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs inspired by cryptocurrency technology. The persistence and growth of Bitcoin have forced even its staunchest detractors to reconsider their positions. While volatility remains a concern, the cryptocurrency market has matured significantly, with improved regulatory frameworks and institutional-grade custody solutions addressing many of the early criticisms. The failure of this prediction highlights the challenges of assessing the potential of truly disruptive technologies. It reminds us that innovation often follows non-linear paths, and that dismissing new ideas based solely on existing paradigms can lead to significant miscalculations. Our third cringeworthy prediction revolves around the oft-repeated claim of China's imminent economic collapse. For years, Western analysts boldly predicted that China's rapid economic growth was unsustainable and that a dramatic downturn was inevitable. They pointed to a litany of issues: unsustainable debt levels, overcapacity in key industrial sectors, a potential housing bubble, and looming demographic challenges due to the one-child policy. The forecasts were dire: markets would crash, unemployment would skyrocket, and global supply chains would be upended. Some even suggested that economic turmoil could lead to political instability, threatening the rule of the Chinese Communist Party. Yet, contrary to these apocalyptic predictions, China's economy has continued to grow and evolve. While it's true that China faces significant challenges, including an aging population and the need to transition from an export-driven model to one focused on domestic consumption, the country has demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt and reform. The Chinese government has implemented a series of policies aimed at addressing structural imbalances, from cracking down on shadow banking to investing heavily in high-tech industries and renewable energy. Innovations in areas like e-commerce, mobile payments, and artificial intelligence have helped drive productivity gains and create new economic opportunities. Moreover, China's increasing integration into the global economy, exemplified by initiatives like the Belt and Road Project, has helped to diversify its economic relationships and create new avenues for growth. While growth rates have moderated from the double-digit figures seen in the early 2000s, China has maintained a pace of expansion that continues to outstrip most developed economies. The failure of the China collapse prediction underscores the dangers of applying Western economic models and assumptions to a country with a fundamentally different political and economic system. It also highlights the importance of considering a nation's capacity for economic reinvention and policy flexibility when making long-term forecasts. Our fourth cringe-inducing prediction takes us into the realm of political economy with the assertion that capitalism was on the brink of collapse and that socialism would inevitably replace it. This forecast, often repeated by both ideological critics of free market policies and certain academic circles, painted a picture of a future where income inequality, environmental degradation, and unsustainable growth would force governments to dismantle the capitalist system entirely. Proponents of this view argued that the contradictions inherent in capitalism, such as the concentration of wealth and the exploitation of labor and natural resources, would ultimately lead to its downfall. I've encountered passionate arguments suggesting that a dramatic, systemic overhaul was not only possible but imminent, with workers seizing control of the means of production and creating a more equitable, socialist economy. Some pointed to the 2008 financial crisis as evidence that capitalism had finally reached its breaking point, predicting that governments would be forced to nationalize key industries and implement sweeping redistributive policies. However, as we look at the global economic landscape in 2025, it's clear that while capitalism faces significant challenges, it has also shown an extraordinary ability to evolve and adapt. Rather than a wholesale collapse, we've witnessed incremental changes and the emergence of hybrid models, where elements of social welfare are integrated into market economies without completely abandoning the capitalist framework. Many countries have implemented stronger regulations on financial institutions, expanded social safety nets, and taken steps to address income inequality and climate change within the context of market-based systems. Moreover, technological innovations and the rise of the digital economy have created new forms of entrepreneurship and wealth creation that don't neatly fit into traditional socialist models. The gig economy, crowdfunding platforms, and the democratization of investment through apps like Robinhood have changed the nature of work and capital allocation in ways that weren't anticipated by those predicting capitalism's demise. The failure of this prediction illustrates how ideological convictions can sometimes overshadow the nuanced realities of economic systems. It also underscores the resilience and adaptability of capitalist economies, which have shown a capacity to incorporate critiques and reforms without undergoing a complete systemic transformation. While debates about the future of capitalism and the role of government in the economy continue, the stark capitalism versus socialism dichotomy has given way to more nuanced discussions about how to create sustainable, equitable economic models within a broadly market-based framework. Our fifth and final cringeworthy prediction brings us back to the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis and the gloomy forecasts surrounding the US housing market. In the wake of the subprime mortgage meltdown and the ensuing global economic turmoil, many experts were convinced that the housing bubble had burst for good and that the market would never regain its former strength. I vividly remember headlines warning that the American dream of home ownership was on its last legs, that foreclosures would continue to rise indefinitely, and that property values in many areas would remain depressed for decades. Some analysts went so far as to suggest that the entire concept of housing as an investment was fundamentally flawed and that future generations would reject home ownership in favor of more flexible living arrangements. The logic seemed sound at the time. The excesses of the pre-2008 housing market, fueled by lax lending standards and complex financial instruments, had been exposed, and it seemed unlikely that such a bubble could ever inflate again. Fast forward to 2025, and the US housing market has not only recovered, but has, in many areas, soared to record levels. A combination of factors contributed to this remarkable turnaround. First, innovative financing options and government interventions such as the Home Affordable Refinance Program, HARP, and the First-Time Homebuyer Tax Credit helped stabilize the market in the immediate aftermath of the crisis. Low interest rates, maintained by the Federal Reserve to stimulate economic recovery, made mortgages more affordable for many Americans. Second, demographic trends played a significant role. As millennials, long delayed in entering the housing market due to student debt and the lingering effects of the recession, began to form households and seek home ownership, demand for housing surged. This was further accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which sparked a renewed appreciation for personal space and suburban living. Third, the rise of remote work has reshaped housing preferences, leading to booms in previously overlooked markets as people seek more space and better quality of life outside of traditional urban centers. Cities like Austin, Boise, and Raleigh have seen dramatic increases in housing demand and prices, defying the post-2008 predictions of a perpetually depressed market. Lastly, constraints on new construction, including zoning restrictions, labor shortages, and supply chain issues, have limited housing supply in many areas, putting upward pressure on prices. While this has created affordability challenges in some markets, it has also contributed to the robust recovery of home values, much to the surprise of those who predicted a long-term slump. The failure of this prediction underscores the difficulty of forecasting market dynamics in the aftermath of a crisis. It also highlights the resilience and adaptability of the housing market, which defied the most pessimistic forecasts and returned to growth through a complex interplay of policy measures, demographic shifts, and changing consumer preferences. As we reflect on these 5 controversial and often cringe-worthy economic predictions, it becomes clear that forecasting the future is a daunting challenge, even for the most respected experts. Each of these predictions seemed plausible at the time, backed by data, theory, or ideological conviction. Yet, the interplay of technological innovation, policy adjustments, and unforeseen market dynamics has repeatedly overturned even the most confident forecasts. The lesson here isn't that economic predictions are worthless. Far from it. Forecasts play a crucial role in shaping policy, guiding investment decisions, and helping individuals and businesses plan for the future. However, these examples remind us of the importance of humility and flexibility in our approach to economic analysis. They underscore the need to constantly reassess our assumptions, remain open to new information, and recognize the limitations of our models in capturing the full complexity of human behavior and technological progress. Moreover, these failed predictions highlight the dangers of linear thinking in a world characterized by exponential change. Whether it's underestimating the potential of new technologies like cryptocurrencies, failing to anticipate the adaptability of economic systems like capitalism, or misjudging the resilience of markets like housing, linear projections often fall short in capturing the dynamic nature of our global economy. As we look to the future, it's crucial to approach economic forecasts with a critical eye and a healthy dose of skepticism. While expert analysis and data-driven predictions remain valuable tools, we must also cultivate the ability to think creatively about potential disruptions and paradigm shifts that could upend conventional wisdom. In conclusion, these cringe-worthy economic predictions serve as powerful reminders of the inherent uncertainty in forecasting complex systems. They challenge us to question our assumptions, remain open to alternative perspectives, and continuously update our understanding of the forces shaping our economic reality. As we navigate an increasingly interconnected and rapidly evolving global economy, embracing this uncertainty, while striving for rigorous analysis, may be the key to avoiding our own cringe-worthy predictions in the years to come. What are your thoughts on these economic predictions? Do you remember any forecasts that made you cringe in hindsight? Share your experiences and opinions in the comments below. If you found this extended deep dive insightful, please like and subscribe for more comprehensive analyses of the economic trends shaping our world. Thank you for joining me on this journey through some of the most memorable missteps in economic forecasting, and I'll see you in the next video.